Yes, ma'am. Ms. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Hopkins?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Ms. Page? Ms. Quintern?
Here.
Madam Chair, the clerk certifies the presence of quorum.
Do we all stand for the pledge of allegiance? Dr. Carney, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, ma'am, no changes.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam Chairman, I make a motion we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second. Agenda approved. Moving on. I'm sorry. Can I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the consent agenda, minutes and financial reports. Are there any questions, or can I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion we approve the financial reports as presented.
I looked over them as well, and I can use a second. Monthly operating bills. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I get a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Monthly operating bills. Can I have a motion to approve the monthly operating bills?
I move to approve the January 2023 operating bills in the amount of $5,722,004.35.
And I overlooked the bills and I'll second that.
Can I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to recognitions. Dr. Horning?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, we're pleased this morning, members of the board, to have some staff member recognitions, and we are going to start with technology. And so, Mr. Hill, if you would please make your way to the podium.
Dr. Hornig, Madam Chair, members of the board, it's my privilege tonight and honor to present to you the technology staff for Orange County. We have with us Daniel Lauber, Pam Warren Washington.
Yes.
Braden Bennett, Travis Taylor, and Matthew Gerald. So these 5 members, 3 of whom are alumni of Orange County, I'm proud to say as well, support 5,000 plus student devices, 2,000 plus staff devices, 700 phones, hundreds of wireless displays, security cameras, streaming of the board meeting that's going on tonight, which we still are doing, thousands of peripherals and network-related pieces of equipment, as well as a host of online software, services, programs, apps. If it plugs in, basically, this is 5 people to handle it for this entire district. That's 10 locations, 11 county bus garage. It's amazing what they're responsible for and how they keep everything running so smoothly. Each of them has a focus area, but we share information throughout the team so that any one of them can handle in a crisis. If a member's out, we can communicate with them, and they're more than capable of handling any situation that arises. I'm extremely proud to be a part of this team, and I just really wanted to highlight what we're doing with so few people. And they really do an outstanding job day to day, and even on weekends as well, because some of the work that has to be done, Mr. Gerald will come in on the weekends to do when it doesn't impact learning or the services that we provide every day. So, thank you all very much.
Go, Daniel!
morning, members of the board. It is really a pleasure to spend some more time celebrating excellence here in Orange County. Today, I would like to recognize Ms. Caitlin Fake. Ms. Caitlin Fake has spent 3 of her 5 years teaching kindergarten at Locust Grove Primary School. Ms. Fake serves as the kindergarten team lead, the LGPS PBIS coach, and she's on our teacher leadership team. Ms. Fake is intentional and creative. Come on up, Ms. Fake. She is intentional. I want to look at you while I say these things. This is for you. Ms. Fake is intentional and creative in her support of students and colleagues and provides thoughtful and insightful ideas to school leadership. She has served as a mentor and a buddy this year to new teachers at Locust Grove Primary, and she is a champion for the growth and the development of her teammates. In addition to her current responsibilities, Ms. Fake has served on our school safety team. She's assisted in district curriculum work, and she has also assisted administration with summer preparation work as she completed her internship in pursuit of her administrative degree. Ms. Fake also contributes to the aesthetics and the positive culture of our school building by providing inspiration and colorful words posted in our teacher lounge, a running bingo game that is enjoyed by all staff members as well. So some challenges of encouraging one another, learning a little bit about each other, and we have a little bit of offer a prize to people throughout the year. Ms. Fake has also developed a weekly partnership with a second grade teacher, Ms. Junior, for STEAM Friday. And there are many things that make the day of a principal, but when you walk into a classroom and you see a collaborative effort between a kindergarten teacher and a second grade teacher working on writing, STEAM-based approaches, and that collaboration and that partnership between kindergarten students and second grade students, it really is a joy. And it's something that, when I was in the room the other day, it looks effortless. But I know that when you get to the place where things are looking effortless, that comes with a lot of planning and preparation. And so I appreciate the planning and preparation that you put into that and everything that you do. So, Ms. Fake, we appreciate you. I appreciate you for your hard work and dedication to your students, the staff, and the families of Locust Grove Primary.
Good evening, Dr. Hornick and school board. I agree with what Mr. Pena, and make sure I can see my staff as I recognize them. I have Miss Sharon Penley and Miss Candace Condon, our amazing reading specialists at Lightfoot here this evening. Ms. Congdon joined us this year after spending 9 years at Locust Grove Elementary, 1 year at Orange Elementary as a reading specialist, and she's been in education for 18 years. She quickly adapted to the staff and to the teachers and was nominated this year as a candidate for Lightfoot Teacher of the Year as her first year with our staff, which is pretty amazing. She reminds me daily how much she loves Lightfoot, and we love that she is with us. Ms. Penley has taught in Orange County for 40 years. That really does say something. And she knows the families and the businesses and is quick to get us connected when we need donations and support for events. Both Ms. Congdon and Ms. Penley are examples of the pride that we have in education in Orange County. Ms. Congdon and Ms. Penley are both natural leaders with the staff, students, and families. First and foremost, they are reading teachers. They serve our students who need intervention and also oversee the instructional assistants who work with our students. Second, they are coaches. They teach teachers the most up-to-date strategies in the science of reading. They lead professional learning for staff on decoding, building word knowledge and world knowledge. They monitor Lexia, which is one of our interventions. They acknowledge students through an email, and then those students then get a trip to get a prize and a book when they level up, thanks to the reading specialists. They also build our community engagement, working this year on our amazing family reading night, where families play games engaged in reading activities. And now they're doing that same thing with our school-wide book, Sled Dog School, which it would take me about 15 minutes to tell you all the things that they're doing within the school with our parents and our students in engaging and reading together. So indeed, Ms. Congdon and Ms. Penley, and I could go on for a very long time, but I'll keep it to my notes, are the force behind the entire literacy program, and why at Lightfoot we can all say that we are proud to be part of Orange County. So thank you both.
Thank you all very much. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Frank Palmieri, high school principal, and he has a spotlight on parent engagement and something he would like to share with the board and those in attendance. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Palmieri.
Thank you so much, Dr. Horning. Good evening, members of the board. Good evening, stakeholders in attendance. I'm here tonight to recognize and spotlight some of the things that we've worked on with great intentionality this year at the high school. And that has involved centering around making sure that our student involvement and parent engagement went hand in hand as we've recovered from the last couple of years. So I've invited some of my stakeholders tonight who have helped me every step of the way this year, who I've asked to come up and speak a little bit about some of the things that we've done. Because while I could tell you all about it, I felt it was much more pressing and it'd be more impressive if we heard from our stakeholders themselves to kind of share with you their thoughts and perceptions about how things are going this year at the high school. So without further ado, I'm going to first turn it over to Mrs. Clore.
So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the experience that I've had this year, my son has had. So I think a lot of the activities that we're going to talk about, it really, there were things that happened before the activities actually occurred. And I really give a lot of credit to Mr. P as far as laying the groundwork, the foundation. So at the very beginning of school, even before school, he brought in a lot of students, groups of students, individual students, and he talked with them. And what do you think he did? He asked them, what was important to them? What did they want to accomplish? What were the goals? And what better way to get, really good results with your students than to talk with them and find out what it is that they want. So I give him a lot of credit for doing that. It's really very obvious that that's one example, but he has just, tremendous relationships with the students. Just very open, just very present, and you can see the interactions that they really enjoy and respect each other. I think that would also extend even to, the families. I feel like that this is my second child coming through the high school. And, it's really the first relationship that I have had with a high school principal, and that's 8 years now. So I'm just really appreciative for this opportunity with my second child getting ready to graduate. One of the things Mr. P did was, my son came home and he was like, I'm not sure how that's gonna work. But he actually put a number of rules, into place. And I think that, a lot of the students are like, I'm not so sure about this. But, my son now, when I talk with him, he's like, it was great, it brought so much needed order, back to the school system. So again, a lot of credit for him coming in brand new and creating, that framework. So this is just really led to an inclusive environment. I feel like our entire student body, it doesn't matter if you represent sports or band or academic team, it doesn't matter where you're from. I think the group is just, it's much more, inclusive approach, and, I think the students as a whole are really bought in much more so. So, with all of that, once you get that, then you can go and really have some fun, right? You can do some celebrating, and that's actually what, Mr. Kessler is going to talk about now.
Dr. Hornick, Madam Chair, and members of the board, thank you for having us tonight. And it's always a pleasure when you get asked to talk about something that's going well. So I've been around the system for a long time. My dad taught at the high school in the 70s. I came through the system in the 70s, was at high school in the late 80s. My wife in the early 90s. And now we have 3 daughters at the high school together. So we've been participants in this system for a long time. We call it almost 50 years. And so I've seen a lot of changes throughout those years, and a lot of outside impacts that drive change. But COVID was different. COVID was a pretty unexpected setback for all of us. And everybody rolled their sleeves up, worked hard, patched it together, and got through it. But there was work to be done after that. And Mr. Palmieri came into the scene and with a vision. And the vision has to be deliberate. When you've got to repair something that's broken from an event like COVID, you've really got to have something strong and something motivating. And it takes daily interaction between parents, students, teachers, administrators, workers, janitors, cafeteria. It takes everybody, and it has to be deliberate. It doesn't happen on its own. And so I want to focus on a couple of events, and we've got another speaker too that's going to tell a couple of stories. But I was not able to attend the cookout parking lot painting of the spaces party, but what I was able to attend and participate in was a senior pancake breakfast that we had. So we got together, I don't know, probably 15 or 20 volunteers, and started putting this thing together, and somehow we got about a truckload of pancake mix. We had about a dozen griddles, and we lined up in the cafeteria at the high school early one morning. It was still dark. I wasn't awake yet, but anyway, so we're cooking, we're lined up. I mean, made the other side of the thing here, and we're cooking hundreds of pancakes, and all of a sudden the gates open, and the seniors start coming in, and they keep coming, and they keep coming, and they keep coming. I don't know how it seemed like several hundred people in the room, and they're coming through the line. They're getting their pancakes and toppings and milk and juice and whatever, and I looked around the room, and I took a step back from what I was doing, and I looked at our people cooking, and I looked at the administrators and the students and the teachers and the cafeteria workers, even the electricians that were in the room, because we fried some circuits with our electricity. But for that 1 hour or so, everybody in that room was engaged with each other. There were probably students in there that hadn't seen each other ever in high school. Maybe they didn't have classes together. Maybe they were on different floors. everybody in that room had a smile on their face, and it was a bonding moment for the community. And so, that's what it's about. It's about getting together as a community, and everybody was invited. I love sports, I love basketball, football, wrestling, I love it all. And I've been part of a lot of it over all these years. That one event, it was just a joyous occasion, and, we've got one shot to raise these young individuals and give them an environment where they can succeed and be confident. And we need to boost and celebrate the little successes. The success of a pancake breakfast, as simple as that might sound, that was a hit. And so, any chance we get to celebrate for these young individuals a win, it's gonna help to ward off the negativity when it starts to come in, and it's gonna give them confidence in their walk. So, I wanna thank every one of you guys, every teacher, every parent, every student across the board, because it takes all of us, and it's working. So keep up the good work, everybody.
Amy Payette, mother of another senior here. And I just would like to echo what Mary Alice and Mark have talked about here this evening, is Mr. Palmieri hit the ground running. He set an incredible tone. Our first event happened before the dust of the school year had settled, when we had the parking lot event, where all the seniors were invited to paint their spaces. We had a huge cookout, grills were brought in, and all of these events that we've been enjoying this year have come at no cost to the students. So it's all been a lot of community coming together, parents coming together, administration coming together, and we're just very thankful for the tone that's been set. And that was quite an incredible evening. And we have a lot of prayers here in the room, so when I said, we really need to talk about a rain date, we just decided, well, we just pray it up real good, and we had the prettiest Friday night we've had in the past year, so it was wonderful. The other thing that I really want to highlight this evening is the approach to social media. I'm a marketeer at heart, so I can appreciate, and a cheerleader for years and years, so I can appreciate a whole lot of positivity. And I am loving what I see come through on my social media feed. And I feel much more connected to the school because of that. So when we're sitting at the dinner table, and my son happened to be sharing a story of something that happened at school when he reprimanded a couple of kids at the lunch table and said, no guys, the band and the academics, they're our best performing sports teams at the school. Well, I knew exactly what he was talking about, because I had seen all the awesome things happening. And so I just want y'all to know that there's a lot of nice things happening at the high school. We're very thankful for the tone that Mr. Palmieri has set, and really how it's brought everybody, all demographics together, and it's been really nice. We're having a great year.
So I'd like to once again thank my parents for coming out tonight, and I have to say that without their support and buy-in, these events would not have been successful. Again, the charge of this year was again to increase that inclusivity, bring this group together, and make sure that senior year was memorable for this group, but also that we created a blueprint so that this was going to be able to happen year after year, that we started some new traditions. And that would not have been able to happen without that buy-in from my parents and an important group on my campus. So I'm very thankful to them. It's through their hard work and dedication that we've been able to make sure that those events do not cost any student $1 out of pocket this year. That's very important to me, to make sure that everybody has access to these events and that we are not excluding anybody based on socioeconomic status. So again, I'm so thankful for them, and I'm fortunate to have them, because if they did not support and buy into my mission and vision of the high school, it would not be going the way that it is. So I felt it was important for us to come here tonight and share a little bit with you. And I thank everybody for the time tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Palmieri, and parents and guardians. Thank you all very much for your continued support. Appreciated hearing from you all. And at this time, it is CTE month in February. And I'd like to invite Dr. Honaker to come forward. And we have some community partners we'd like to recognize, as well as some other information spotlighting CTE efforts across Orange County.
Good evening. I hope everyone's
having a good reading night. I don't know if I can follow all that. That was really exciting. Great to hear that our seniors are having a great year. But as Dr. Hornick said, this is CTE month, so I thought it would be a good, February would be a good time for me to not only, continue what Ms. Anderson and I have been doing with the curriculum and, of both arts and fine arts and, our core curriculum. Tonight I'll talk to you a little bit about what CTE is and what we offer at the high school. So, go ahead, Mom. So this should look familiar to you as we've been talking about the core areas as well as the electives. This is CTE. It's very similar to the core areas except that instead of the SOLs, you'll see that they have Virginia CTE competencies, they're called instead of the SOLs. The instruction in the classroom is much more experiential. Students are learning skills that they will take with them into the workforce. All of the courses have credentials attached to them that students can earn in the upper level courses. And each of our CTE courses also have work-based learning opportunities as well as student CTSOs. And a CTSO is a student organization that is co-curricular. So each of our teachers also have like for example, FFA for our agriculture classes, or DECA for our marketing, or our Technology Student Association for our technology classes. They all have those types of things that go along with it. In the middle, you'll see this similar thing that we've talked about all along, that the courses have to be engaging, relevant, and rigorous. But I think it goes without saying that that outer circle is probably the most important with the CTE program because the 5 C's, of course, these students are engaging in those every day in these courses. So we'll first start with the VDOE level of career and technical education. So the career clusters are how Virginia organizes the career and technical education program. There are 17 career clusters representing 83 career pathways. When I was doing this today, I thought, I'm going to look and see how many Orange has. So all the ones that are highlighted in orange are representative of the career clusters that we actually have classes that we offer in, which is pretty impressive if you look at that for a school system the size of ours. And one more of them, manufacturing, we've had that up until this year, but unfortunately due to a staffing issue, we don't have it this year, so I didn't highlight it, but we have had it in the past. Okay. So the next are the curriculum elements for CTE. Very similar to what we showed you in the funnel with the core curriculum. CTE follows that same pattern. You start out with the big picture, the career clusters that we just talked about. There are 17 of those. Those clusters then break out into 83 pathways from which students may choose courses. These courses all are sequential and have completers. So it's not like most classes where you can just take a class. These courses all go in order, and as the students move through it, their skills get more and more defined to the workplace, and they can earn completers. All of the courses have competencies attached to them. All of the CTE courses have workplace readiness skills in every class that are similar, and they are those soft skills that you hear many businesses talk about that are important. And then they also have the course-specific competencies that students can earn. And then lastly, in the classroom, our teachers take all of that and create lessons that are experiential, hands-on, which will help the students as they go through the different pathways, earn credentials. They have fun with the CTSOs. They learn a lot of leadership skills through those CTSOs. And then, of course, through our community liaison, they have opportunities to go out and get workplace learning opportunities. So I thought it would be interesting just to look at one area. So let's use agriculture as an example. These are the VDOE available pathways for agriculture. So as the school division and the curriculum department, we all look at these are the things that we can choose from for agriculture. And depending on our instructors and their areas of expertise, we then narrow that down to what we can offer at Orange County. And then
So this is an example of our pathways. These are our agriculture pathways. Ninth grade students start out in Foundations of Agriculture in pink. You'll see those are the entry level for all the pathways. Once a student takes that, they can decide either where their interest area lies or where their career goals lie. And that would be, so they could then decide, do I want to go into animal systems, and these are the courses that we offer there. Plant systems with the courses that we offer there, and then power systems. So those are our three pathways from which students can specialize. Okay? Like I said earlier, all of them have certifications. This is an area that we are working on. All of our classes take the workplace readiness assessment, and a lot of our students get that as a credential. We are now working on these pathways to make them much more aligned to industry certifications. And here are some that we have already in our ag department. The pesticide, we have our new teacher this year on her own has already gone out and gotten the feed quality assurance, and it's very notable for me to say this because a CTE teacher is a little different, because if a teacher wants to offer a certification to her students or his students, they have to have that certification themselves. So it's not just that we say, oh, we want to give the floriculture assessment and we give it. That instructor has to first earn it, and then they are allowed to give it. So we are working on having all of our teachers in each of our areas have an industry certification that we can then turn and offer to our students. Okay. Work-based learning, these are the approved types of work-based learning opportunities that the Virginia Department of Education recognizes. Currently, our students have opportunities to job shadow, mentorship, service learning, and then we also have some who are involved in a supervised agricultural experience, and we are working towards the youth registered apprenticeships. We've had a couple in the past prior to COVID, and we're working our way back up to that. So if you'd like to look into this a little bit more and learn a little bit more about CTE, I've provided you with links to all of these different areas. If you want to learn more about the credentials, the clusters, the work-based learning, or the VDOE course offerings, you can click on those links and it'll take you to the website. You can look at all the different pathways. And then the last link that you see down here, this is our course of studies at the high school. And it lists all the courses that we currently offer, not just in CTE, but all of our courses. But you can get an idea of our pathways there. And since it is CTE month, I really want to take this time to thank all of our CTE teachers, because like I said, there's a lot that goes into being a CTE teacher. Many of them come from industry. They have to keep up with industry standards in whatever their area is. Like I said, if they have to do the certifications, if they want to offer a certification, they too have to have that. And they all have their CTSOs that are a part of their curriculum as well. So they're very busy, but they're also very dedicated to our students. We are very fortunate to have the teachers that we do in our CTE programs. And I'm going to ask them to stand up here in a little bit, but first I wanted to share with you so you could see some of what they do every day with our students. Laura, would you pick the one, please? long, but we have a lot that we like to highlight and show you. You'll notice there at the end, it said, thank you for your partnerships with Orange County Public Schools. As I spoke about earlier, it's very important that we keep up with industry standards in our businesses and the needs of our community. And so tonight I would like to present some certificates of appreciation for some community people and businesses who have partnered with us this year. So I'd like to start with, and I'm not sure if they're here or not, but Cedar Mountain Stone. We needed a new greenhouse because last year ours collapsed under the snow that we had back in December. And we were able to get that greenhouse, but you have to have a base for that. And so when I called to find out what would be the best type of base to be used, I called Mr. Dalrymple at Cedar Mountain Stone. And he, instead of helping me figure out what we needed to purchase, which I was fully thinking that I was going to have to do, he said, no, we can help you with that. And they donated the entire load of gravel and brought it out here for us at no cost. So I would like to thank Cedar Mountain Stone for investing in Orange County High School CTE through donations. And Mr. Dalrymple is also a member of my business advisory and has been for years. Anyway, so thank you to them. Well, once the gravel arrived, it was in a big giant. And I was like, I'm not really sure what we're gonna do with that gravel and how we're gonna get it where it needs to go now, because there it was. And so I spoke with someone here in central office, and they said, I think I know someone who would be very willing to come and help us with that. Sure enough, on a Saturday, on his own time, with his own equipment, this person came out and said, I will help you with that at no cost. So at this time, I'd like to thank Chris Southard of Southard's Lawn Care. Are you here? Thank you so much. Get a picture in front of that. I'm so sorry. And lastly, but not least, we definitely have a partnership with our area businesses, and that would not be as organized and as in-depth as it is if it weren't for the efforts of this person. This person has been on the CTE Business Advisory since before I took over. She also has worked with us through the helping us develop partnerships with businesses. From everything from calling me and saying, hey Renee, I've got an idea about automotive, to just connecting us with businesses throughout the community, as well as organizations that provide us with support in the area of certifications. This person is invaluable to our program, and I wanted to take this opportunity to thank her formally for all that she's done over the years, and that is Rose Deal. I would just like to take an opportunity for all the CTE teachers who are here tonight to stand. And we have a few who came. I think Dr. Hornick would like a picture with you. So the teachers who are here tonight, would come forward. And I would be remiss if I didn't also ask Jessica Sarber and Ellen Patera to come forward for this picture because they are an integral part of this team. So, any questions before we close? About the curriculum? All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you all very much, CTE teachers, thank you, community partners, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. We appreciate your time, and that is all for recognitions this evening, so I'll turn it back over to you, Mrs. Anderson.
Before we open up public comment, we're going to take a 5-minute recess.
What I've always wondered is, think that education was better with the included or not.
Like to open public comment. Laura, how many, Ms. Byron, how many speakers?
We currently have 9.
9 speakers.
Would you like me to call them up in pairs like I've been doing?
Yes, that'd be great, thank you.
The first 2 speakers are Ellen Wessel and Jennifer Schmidt.
Raised on a farm. Every season. We didn't have much to do.
Good evening, I'm Ellen Wessel, a resident of Orange County, District 1, and a member of the Orange Rotary Club, which has made Orange County Public Schools the chief beneficiary of our time and grant dollars. We've helped with funding solar panels for the STEM bus, buying art materials for an elementary summer school program, buying band uniforms, underwriting the cost of take-home educational materials for elementary school students during COVID shutdown, and for decades we've been funding academic and career training scholarships for high school students. Last Tuesday, January 31st, we hosted an evening event featuring one of our newer Orange Rotarians, our own Dr. Daniel Hornick. A room full of Rotarians, spouses, and friends had the privilege of hearing Dr. Hornick deliver a methodical, clear-eyed presentation of the challenges and complexities of educating our youth in the 21st century. No one in that room last week or on the dais in front of me tonight was a student when it was so perfectly normal to have 24/7 access to the world in our pockets and to now have ready access to generative artificial intelligence for homework assignments. Dr. Hornick spotlighted several of our school district's challenges. 1, recruitment and retention of quality teachers and staff. 2, reducing frighteningly high levels of student absenteeism. And 3, providing sufficient and safe facilities for students to learn. It was exciting to hear about the rigorous strategic planning process now underway. Once goals have been established, action groups will form to map out steps to meet them. My point tonight, aside from heaping public praise on our superintendent of schools, I want to encourage all of our school board members to be curious and humble about what it is to be a young person in the metaverse, and empathetic about what it is to be an adult educator working with these hyper-informed students. And above all, to respect and appreciate the awesome variety of learners in our public schools and honor your policy of non-discrimination with regard to sex, sexual orientation, gender, gender identity, race, color, national origin, disability, religion, ancestry, age, etc. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Schmidt.
On February 1st, a Virginia General Assembly committee voted in favor of Bill HB 2367. A bill aimed at tasking the Virginia Department of Education to develop a statewide strategic plan for recruiting and retaining speech pathologists. The bill highlights the need to evaluate the potential effectiveness of differentiated pay scales for SLPs. SLP recruitment and retention is one of both local and statewide importance. I will continue to advocate on both levels for my profession. I also came to talk tonight about OCPS's strategic planning. At the beginning of this school year, a guest speaker addressed OCPS employees. He described himself as a recovering principal. That word recovery has strong implications. Often recovery is a complex process, one that requires professional interventions and deeply rooted lifestyle changes that guide a person back to improved daily functioning. Recovery requires work. When the collective experience of educators is often that of overwhelm, helplessness, apathy, and pathologically significant levels of fatigue, then a recovery process is truly needed. Students cannot be empowered if their educators are not. So I'm here in hopes to inspire an empowered educators committee as part of the strategic plan. A task force that investigates modern, scientifically driven approaches to boost an educator's experience of wellness and autonomy, because we're honestly not okay. An approach that does more than ask educators to remember their why. As a well-intentioned but often misguided means to motivate. Recovery requires work. It is work that will take decades, which is why it needs to start now. Recovery is a process that's going to require support from state and federal levels. But locally, we need to start asking, what will OCPS do to support the recovery of its educators? Thank you.
The next two speakers are Emily Potts and Alan Daniel.
Hey, but you didn't ask for first.
Hello. I've come before you a couple of times before this as Bob Potts. That's not who I am. My name is Emily Potts, and I'm a transgender woman who has been living in this county for 2 years. And in the 2 years that I've been living here, I've heard about nothing but hate. And in the year that, half a year that my daughter has been in the Orange County schools, I've come to this board because of the fact that we've had issues with all of the anti-trans stuff. Well, you know what? Here's my daughter, my non-binary kid. And for the last 2 weeks, I have been going down, and I did it today, went down to Richmond, and I've been fighting against lobbying against these trans bills, the anti-trans bills in the House. you guys are now going to take funding or take a partnership that has been with the Art Center here in Orange because of one thing, a drag queen program. It wasn't even geared towards kids. It's kind of crazy, kind of messed up. If you know your history, you would know that until December 8th, 1660, there was no female actresses or whatever on the stage. Her name was Margaret Hughes. Look it up. I did. Before that, the people that were there that went up and spoke or was on the stage were boys, men, dressed as women, because women were not allowed to do it. Drag is an art form. It is what it is. Because of the fact that the Art Center was trying to do something for the students and for the community, to bring the community closer and have a little more inclusion and teach people in the community about inclusion, to take that away is wrong, completely wrong. And I leave you with that. But, you know, you need to quit all the hate. The hate is not cool. All I got.
Mr. Baker.
Dr. Hornick and school board members, I'm coming before you this evening to express support for the Arts Center and the valuable work they have done for OCPS. There seems to be a small vocal group who has been stirring up misinformation, half-truths, and lies about a planned workshop that the Arts Center was going to host, but canceled. I say this because through my FOIA request with all agencies involved, I did not see any official emails or emails from non-official accounts to the Arts Center seeking additional information or clarification on the event. Even though the two Orange County agencies, this board and the Board of Supervisors, want to act on a Facebook post and a hearsay, apparently without seeking the full truth. In my personal opinion, acting on hearsay without performing any due diligence is reckless behavior. Through one of my FOIA requests, I did see a citizen contact one of the agencies, then they contacted the Arts Center. And after the response, which I have given to the clerk to give to each of you, they actually wrote back in favor of the Arts Center and apologized for jumping to conclusions. If anyone would have reached out for information about the workshop, they would have been given this information. I will share a few highlights with you and the audience. The president of the Arts Center stated, the Arts Center should have been more careful and clear when advertising the event. The website said 15 plus, but the event was actually for adults. Parents could bring their children that were at least 15 years old. Additionally, the event had nothing to do with sex or anything lurid and only involved costumes, wigs, and nail design. And the workshop was there for their carnival and Mardi Gras period. Also, if you would have asked the Arts Center, you would have learned the workshops are funded through registration fees, not through donations, grants, or other public funds. The fact that people on this board did not do their due diligence is quite frankly dereliction of duty in my opinion. If you continue on the forcing path and cut ties or implement new stipulations, then I view that as suppression of the freedom of speech. You are a government entity and you are trying to control and tell a private nonprofit what they can do, can and cannot do, what events they can and cannot hold, regardless of the school's involvement in that event. The event was not advertised to or for children. The Arts Center did not send flyers to the school to advertise the event to children. Therefore, I do not understand why this issue the school feels needs to be addressed. I urge you all not to bring up any motions to suppress the Arts Center or to add additional requirements upon them. The local organization representation as what was planned, as seen in the last meeting and through FOIA requests. Thank you.
Center. I thank everyone for their comments, and it's true. I think that the recent Build a Page workshop that sparked such controversy, community furor, has been greatly misinterpreted by some of our community and on social media. While a drag persona, queen persona, was an integral part of the costume workshop originally scheduled during the Mardi Gras and Carnival period, the event had nothing to do with sex or anything lurid. It only involved costumes, wigs, and nail design. We should have been more careful in the definition and when we presented the workshop, and have since postponed. Over the 25 years the Art Center has been doing classes, summer camps, exhibitions, workshops, etc. for the community, schools and organizations, those programs have always been age appropriate. Our mistake on the website for this event is we said it was for ages 15 plus, but if you call to register or the registration form online defined that was with a parent. So it was not for 15-year-old children. We never meant to cause any confusion. In its 25 years, the Art Center has a stellar record of working with people of all ages. A great number of people misinterpreted this workshop, either deliberately or otherwise, and took to social media with out-and-out lies, misconceptions, seemingly intent on stirring up trouble. I would say that most, if not all of those who complained have never set foot in the Art Center, and much less supported it. Unfortunately, none of them even contacted the Art Center for an explanation of the event. We all know that often the nature of social media, and while it is not illegal, it can be extremely malicious, as has been with this workshop. The things that were posted and put together on Facebook had nothing to do with the Art Center. They took the picture of the proposed workshop and added to it. They have nothing to do with that. Since it, well, and I would just, I have met with the superintendent, and we look forward to speaking with you all later about a memorandum of understanding, which I think is a perfectly legitimate thing, okay? Anyway, that's not quick 6 seconds. Thank you very much for your time.
Ms. Walker?
Good evening, school board, superintendent, and those in attendance. I felt it fitting to share a little Orange County Black History, as it is Black History Month. Nanny H. Burroughs, born on May 2nd, 1879 in Orange, Virginia. She's considered to be the eldest of the daughter of John and Jeannie Burroughs. John and Jeannie Burroughs were both former slaves. Nanny's parents had skills and capacities that enabled them to start toward prosperity by the time the war ended and freed them. She had a grandfather known as Elijah the Carpenter during the slave era, who was capable of buying his way out of freedom. By 1883, after her father's death, Burroughs and her mother relocated to D.C. and stayed with Cordelia Mercer, Nanny Burroughs' maternal aunt in D.C. There were better opportunities for employment and education. Burroughs attended M Street High School. It was with here she organized the Harriet Beecher Stowe Literary Society and studied business and domestic science. There she met her role models who were active in the suffrage movement and civil rights. Upon graduating from high school with honors in 1896, Burroughs sought work as a domestic science teacher in the DC public schools, but was unable to find a position. Though it is not documented that she was explicitly told, Burroughs was refused the position with the implication that her skin was too dark. Her skin color and social status had thwarted her for the opportunity she was chosen for. Burroughs with zeal opened a door to the profession for low-income and social status Black women. This is what led Burroughs to establish a training school for women and girls. Nanny Helen Burroughs was a Black educator, orator, religious leader, civil rights activist, feminist, and businesswoman in the United States. Her speech, How Sisters Are Hindered from Helping, at the 1900 National Baptist Convention in Virginia, instantly won her fame and recognition in 1909. She founded the National Training School for Women and Girls in Washington, D.C. Burroughs' objective was, at that point of intersection between race and gender. She fought both for equal rights and races, as well as further opportunities for women beyond the simple duties of domestic housework. She continued to work there until her death in 1961. So you see, Black history isn't just American history or just Virginia history. It's Orange County history.
The next two speakers are Laura Daniel and Sarah Yeager.
Good evening. And Ms. Waller, you beat me to it, because tonight I wanted to talk to the board about 3 specific topics. First, it being Black History Month. Why is the school board not recognizing that or celebrating that? Instead, you're focused on CTE. No offense to your presentation. We need to be building a better community, and that includes recognizing past hardships, errors, and wrongdoings, and celebrating the beautiful Black history and stories that we can learn from. I urge the board to recognize and to celebrate Black History Month. Secondly, I want to urge the board to continue their relationship with the Art Center. Mr. Hopkins wants to propose ceasing all ties with the Art Center, but what's funny is he's not forthcoming with putting his motion out to the public to view. Ironically, this stems from a situation where board members are quick to judge and rushing to actions based on assumptions instead of taking the time to actually get the facts and explore the reasoning behind the recent events. The Art Center has done a lot of good work in the county and for our school systems. For you to throw a relationship away like that in a blink of an eye without a meaningful conversation and understanding is appalling. Why are you, what are you? Are you in elementary school acting like a child, rushing to judgment based on one thing that you hear and starting to make decisions based on that one assumption? Or can you actually be adults and be a responsible school board and think about what's best for the children? Again, by the way, workshops conducted by the Art Center are completely funded by registration costs, so don't worry about your tax money being used for the workshops. Lastly, I wanted to take a moment and actually talk about the subject the board should be focusing on: teachers, teacher pay, and teacher retention. Ms. Dodson mentioned at the last school board meeting that Orange has lost at least 17 teachers since the start of the school year, and I can tell you that number has risen. Nothing like receiving a message that your child has lost their teacher because they left. Another good teacher. What will it take for the board to stop piddling around with this crap and actually work on meaningful solutions that will benefit our children and what our schools actually need? Teachers need better pay, especially our veteran teachers. Teachers need better support. They need planning time. They need to be given breaks. They need to be not overworked covering other people's classrooms because you don't have enough teachers. Teachers need to be able to safely take time off. It shouldn't be their responsibilities to find a sub. That should be the school's or administrator's job. We need to show our teachers that we respect them and we respect what they do in the classroom. Teachers have been doing the right thing for numerous years. If they can't do their job being micromanaged or having to deal with unnecessary, unrealistic crap from the school board administration. I said it before, teachers give it a lot. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Hornick and members of the board. I'm here tonight advocating for the continued partnership between Orange County Public Schools and the Art Center in Orange. A partnership which has always remained free of charge to our school system. Mr. Hopkins is bringing forth punitive motions against the Art Center, just as the Board of Supervisors did at the behest of Ms. Quintern and the Lake of the Woods School Board candidate, Mr. Gary McFadden. Sorry to see that he's left the building today. Solely because of their disapproval of one event that the Art Center planned on the Artistry of Drag. This event was not marketed to children, but rather had age requirements for attendance and in no way promoted sexual deviancy, perversion, or any other depravity, to use Mr. Hopkins' own terminology. Many members of our community who have equal rights to freedom of expression had already signed up to the workshop as it appealed to many people. They should be allowed that freedom of expression without judgment. The class would have focused solely on building a character with costuming, wigs, nail art, much like what's done in theater. The event was indefinitely postponed as a result of our small southern towns over prejudice against LGBTQ+ voices. If the school board decides to take action against the Art Center by cutting all official ties, it will not only be seen by the public as an overtly homophobic and transphobic act, but it will deprive children in this community of wholesome and valuable artistic learning opportunities. As a parent of a kindergartner at Orange Elementary who's enjoyed the Art Center's free Saturday kids classes, and an artist myself who's attended many classes and events, I'm knowledgeable of the wonderful programming they offer. I know these motions will simply shoot our school system in the foot. All of the art programming brought into the public schools is age appropriate, approved by the administration, and non-controversial. The Art Center has been a valuable asset and resource to this community for over 25 years, inspiring conversations, providing opportunities, encouraging growth and acceptance of all the diverse members of our community. Ms. Quintern went so far as to suggest that in the Art Center's stead, she would freely volunteer her own time and resources to provide art programming within the public schools. I find that hard to believe when she simultaneously admitted she gave up said artistic endeavors in order to serve her duties on the school board. If you're questioning the authenticity of my information, I have the FOIA email for receipts, as the kids nowadays say. I will end with this. AP News just reported that the Virginia Department of Education is acknowledging it made a mistake in calculating state aid for K-12 schools, an error that is leaving divisions with less funding than expected, approximately $58 million less for the current school year. Why are you turning away free opportunities for our kids? I think it's obviously because some members of this school board have a discriminatory, fear-based political agenda they masquerade as a moral Christian one.
Mr. John Foley.
Good evening. I'm speaking in support of the Art Center and the continued partnership with the Art Center. I have 3 children, 2 are in the Orange County Schools, and one is a graduate of the Orange County Schools. She is a junior at Washington and Lee University. She is a declared studio art major. She did her senior government school project at the Nichols Gallery in Orange County, but long before that, she got her start in art in a combination of the free Saturdays at the Art Center and in the art shows that her elementary schools, middle school, and high school teachers always encouraged her to go to at the Art Center. The irony is that in the Orange County, the home of the First Amendment, home of James Madison, home of the Constitution Center, that we would attack free expression on one show that didn't happen, and we would risk taking away essentially the home studio, the home gallery, where children show their art. It's been a great place. It's wonderful art. Sure, we can put art here in the halls, but then we meet people at the door and they have to have an ID or a valid reason to get in to see that art. The Art Center is open to the public. When children want their grandparents, their uncles, their friends, their neighbors, they want to tell people about art, they want to show people, they don't have to go through a guardhouse, like the Lake of the Woods Art Show, or a guard station, get buzzed in. We should keep supporting the Art Center. We should work with the Art Center. If you don't like a show, talk to them about it. Talk to the community. But don't knee-jerk attack the Art Center when they're doing so much for so many students and giving so many opportunities for expression. Thank you.
There are no more speakers.
I call public comment closed. Now to superintendent reports and recommendations. Dr. Hornick.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll go to letter A, and I'll have Ms. Dawson come to the podium. And the information being brought forward was brought originally on the 23rd for approval of next year's school calendar. And as Ms. Dawson had the calendar out for public review, one of the suggestions or the asks that came back in was from our elections officials, who asked us if we could please address the March 5th primary, as there is anticipated high turnout for the presidential primary. So I'll just draw your attention to the two drafts and what we have done. This doesn't change the number of school days at all. The time is still the same. The professional day that was originally scheduled for February has been moved in both draft calendars to Tuesday, March the 5th. So March the 5th and November the 7th are addressed in both ways. And Ms. Dawson's happy to talk to you about the feedback that she has received from these documents. And then I will provide you with my final thoughts and we can move from there.
Thank you, Dr. Hornick, Madam Chair, members of the board. We did put both drafts out for comment from our public, our staff, our students. We received a total of 96 responses. Out of that, we had 14 that from the community. We had 5 student and 72 staff responses. Based on the responses received, 18 preferred draft 1 and 78 preferred draft 2. I pulled out the key points with feedback that was provided by some of those that completed the survey. Those that liked draft 1 focused on the winter break and the student return. And with draft 1, you'll remember, Laura, can you go up to January? With draft 1, so the winter break runs through January the 2nd with a staff workday on the 3rd and then students return on the 4th. So they have 2 days 1 week and then they transition back to a normal week the following week. For draft 2, those staff members and community members and students preferred the extended winter break. So we'll wait. So you'll see this calendar. The winter break runs through January the 3rd, with the 4th and the 5th as work days for staff, and students return on the 8th. And they liked that the makeup day was in March. So, Laura, will you go down to the bottom of this one? All the way to the bottom, yes ma'am. Yes. So you'll see OCPS will utilize March 15th to make up for inclement weather days 6 and 7. So those that liked the draft 1 or draft 2 preferred this makeup schedule. Whereas in draft 1, we don't have to use March 15th, which is a professional development day, I believe, for teacher work day. Any questions about the feedback? I was excited to see the students. That was great.
No, I think you hit the key points. I think as we move forward, I'll just urge the board to consider, while the majority of the folks that responded put draft 2, it is pretty clear to me that draft 1 is better for instruction and testing, etc. The longer we go after graduation, the less and less return we will get on that investment. So I would just put it out there that in my cabinet and myself, we feel strongly that option 1, although not the favorite for the comment that we received, is the better overall calendar for instruction and student progress.
Is there any questions? Is there a preference or a motion that we can do for draft 1 and draft 2, or draft 2?
I'll make a motion, we approve the revised draft 1 on the school board calendar for next year. I was a teacher for 30 years, and what teachers want is good. I fought for them, I represented a building of 150 teachers, but the staff here and our superintendent has to decide what schedule is best. And they have some requirements that they have to follow, because the General Assembly says you must instruct your teachers on this, and you mustn't touch your teachers on that. And most of the things in the draft one that the administration is supporting is basically saying, if I have to do this by law, then I have to have some of your teachers' time to do it. The teachers don't like it. I didn't like it when I had to give up a day out of my classroom to go to the central office and be lectured to. But as a school board and the superintendent, we don't have any choice. The General Assembly says you must give instructions to your teachers in this. They have to have time to do it. That's why I support draft one.
I just have one question. So the basic difference between the two is, the winter break and the end of the school year. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
So no of the other dates have changed.
That is the only difference.
All in favor of draft one?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Thank you, Ms. Dawson. At this time, we'll transition to a overview of the coordination that we have had in the past with the Arts Center in Orange. And as Mr. Harvey articulated in his public comment, he reached out and we met on Friday afternoon, and so appreciated his time. For information for the board, things that we have done in the past as far as coordination with the Arts Center. We have participated many times with the Young Visions art exhibit, and this is an opportunity for artwork from students in Orange County as well as the Grimes Memorial School to be displayed in the Arts Center. There have been times, most recently with respect to clay and pottery, where the Arts Center has had staff on hand that have specializations and trades and things that they're very solid and very good at doing. And they have brought our teachers over to train them on those crafts to help improve their craft and their efficacy. There have been volunteer activities. The one that came to mind first and foremost is for many years, the Arts Center has had volunteers that would come to our Head Start. We do not have an art teacher on staff, a fine arts teacher, and so the Arts Center has sent volunteers over to provide art teaching and instruction and opportunities to our Head Start students. During COVID, free of charge, the Arts Center donated art kits to all of our students who were coming to places for when they would pick up food during COVID at various centralized locations. The Arts Center put together quite a number of art kits for our students so that they can be passed out. And we've also had opportunities in the past where various art classes, as well as our art club and our National Arts Honor Society, have taken field trips. And of course, each of these activities are vetted through either Dr. Honecker or Dr. Anderson. And when we look through them, we make sure that there is a curricular connection and justification as well. I did speak with Mr. Harvey, and he articulated in his public comment, I apologize, that he was willing to sit down and work on an MOU with the school division to codify the arrangement and the coordination moving forward. And that is the information that I have for the board regarding past coordination with the Arts Center in Orange.
Or could you put event calendar on the screen. First, the opinions I express are totally my own. I don't often write letters to the editor, but on this subject I did. It was published in the Freelance Star last Friday. I'm assuming it may be in the Orange Review this week. If it's not, there are copies of it up here. And I'm not gonna repeat it here because you'll be able to read it there. But I received a couple very nice comments written in emails defending the Art Center's Drag Queen workshop. I would like to quote from one of them. Quote, "Drag queens are performers and men have been dressing up as women and performing from the time of Shakespeare. Consider movies like Some Like It Hot with Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon back in the 50s, or Dustin Hoffman in Tootsie," unquote. I completely agree with this lady's opinion. This is precisely my point. In these performances, the audience considers dressing as the opposite sex as a joke. The audience understands it is done for entertainment. It is a performance and not reality. Inviting school-age children to a drag queen workshop is unacceptable. It is not a lifestyle that this school board can support. If one takes the time to view the instructor's video on YouTube, you would understand my concern. Let's just say the instructor is no Jack Lemmon or Dustin Hoffman. The Orange Review reported that the Arts Center's Build a Babe workshop has been postponed, but when you look at the Arts Center's calendar events, the workshop is still listed for February 22nd, as you can see. Please note the background image is elementary school children. This calendar image is in poor taste and that is why I think the Build a Babe workshop is also in poor taste. To that said, we were talking about an MRU, so most people that have been talking about that have already seen my motion. So I would just get it out there. I don't want to repeat what I put in the letter to the editor, but it's because of the outstanding job that this art center has done for our community and the board is why I was so upset when I saw what was going on. So therefore, I make the motion, the administration will reach out to the board of directors of the Arts Center and attempt to facilitate a memorandum of understanding between the two boards, and until the MRU is approved, the administration will discontinue any programs and activities involving the Arts Center in Orange. Do I have a second to the motion?
I'll second it for discussion.
Any discussion?
I too have similar sentiments, Mr. Hopkins. The teacher that was involved with this has highlighted on their personal pages, "Let's be deviants together," and tagged the Art Center in Orange. That's highly inappropriate for minors, 15 years to 18 years. And there's concerns with allowing Orange County Public Schools having their name associated with this type of behavior. And deviance refers to breaking behavior of some kind which fails to conform to the norms and expectations of a particular society or social group. Deviance is closely related to the concept of crime, which is law-breaking behavior. Criminal behavior is usually deviant, although not all deviant behavior is criminal. We cannot determine what level of deviance this person was willing to bring into the community. That's why I reached out as a personal citizen to express my concerns. In addition, I want to ensure that we are protecting all students of Orange County, and making sure that the schools are not bringing anything to children, that's not appropriate. I support this motion entirely. There's also captions that were on these, person's social media page. Let's be dance together, and then there's a heading, Mommy in the streets and Daddy in the sheets, just your sassy neighborhood queen. And I understand that's a personal social media page, however, if you're, affiliating that page with your professional duties as a teacher and educator, there's a line that needs to be drawn.
Well, first of all, I think it's great that everybody has come out and voiced opinions where they fall on things. When I first was made aware that, well, let me add too, that my children have had their artwork displayed at the Art Center, and the work they do is really amazing. It is a good community outreach, but I also have to say that I was dismayed when I saw the social media profile of the person and that comment of mom on the streets and dad in the sheets. I'm just paraphrasing, but the pseudo identity of somebody. I believe in knowing who somebody is, and so understanding the lay of the land and where things are going, we do need to have clarification. We don't know who this person is. We know who their, again, pseudo identity is. So I'm not here to condone or condemn what people do. You don't want to take your kids to the art center, that's fine, but the way it was put out there was, this was open to 15-year-olds, and it was going to be marketed as such, and a lot of people had to pump the brakes on this. So I do want to have that memorandum of understanding. I believe Dr. Hornicks explained it pretty well as far as moving ahead, what we would like to see. I'm not going to vote on anything tonight. We don't have Ms. Page here to weigh in on her points of view. But again, the work of the Art Center is tremendous. It's a very good asset, and we benefited from it greatly, and only wish the best for it.
So I too have had my children's artwork in your center as well. I believe it's a beautiful facility. I think the biggest issue was the 15 years and older, which was pretty much bold, bright and bold on the invitation. So that's my major concern. I think if it would have been marketed a little bit differently, we probably wouldn't all be sitting here right now. So I appreciate what you do. Thank you. So are we going to move forward with the motion, or do we want to postpone it?
I personally would like to call a question. It sounds like Dr. Hornick is already in communication and.
Can you speak into the mic, please? Madam Chairman, do we have a roll call vote, please?
Roll call. Mr. Hopkins?
Aye.
Ms. Winter?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. Anderson?
Aye.
Motion is approved by 5-0 vote. 4-0, sorry.
Proceed with the memorandum.
Yes, ma'am, I will reach out to Mr. Harvey, and we will schedule a time, and we will sit down and craft memorandum of understanding. Okay.
All right, so moving on, board member items.
We're still gonna do the budget. Sorry, Ms. Anderson.
Sorry,
Yep.
no, one more.
Yes, ma'am. We're gonna go to letter C, and I'm also gonna invite Mr. Honaker to come to the podium. And we're gonna talk to you this evening about our proposed operating budget. And as we move through this, we'll talk a little bit about the moving target, of course, that still exists and usually does. And we'll also give you a little bit of an update as far as some recent happenings as of yesterday evening that we got information on with respect to the General Assembly. So this evening, some of the priorities, and many of these we provided in January. We had a goal to have a 5% pay increase for all full-time employees, with an additional 2% pay raise for teachers. And so essentially our teachers, our goal is to do a step increase plus 7%. The reason that we decided to approach the pay increase this way as opposed to going with a 6% or 7% or 8% is because, like has been articulated, the percent increase is greater as you move towards the top of the scale. We are a little bit more out of balance with our neighboring school divisions on the top end of our more veteran folks than we are at the bottom. And so this provides all of our teachers with an increase, and it does provide a little bit more of an increase on that top end. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Perry? We have crafted
I
a...
guess I will say that on average, it is a little over 80% for across the board for the teachers on the full scale.
We have also worked with the administration to craft a new instructional assistant pay scale. Just to give you a little bit of background, currently our IAs start at $13.60 an hour, and we would like to move them to a starting salary of $15 per hour. Additionally, our neighboring divisions have our instructional assistants work 185 days. We currently have them working 184. So within the amount that you see here also covers having them be a 185-day employee to afford us more time to do professional development activities. And it also moves them from being paid for a 7 to a 7.5 hour day, which is also in line with our neighboring divisions and provides our school administrators the ability to have more help and coverage with before and after school activities, buses, drop-offs, etc. Anything else there, Gary? We want to make sure we're staying consistent and up to par as well with our bus drivers. After a recent salary adjustment earlier this fall to $18.50 for a starting salary, which is where our bus drivers currently are, we are looking to move them to a $20 per hour starting salary to put us closer in line with our neighboring school divisions. And we have also devised a new scale for speech pathologists. I don't know if you want to speak to this one a little bit, Gary. We know that it is in addition to.
Yeah, we compared it to neighboring divisions, and it's actually a 7% increase from what a teacher with a master's degree would receive. And also want to note that these totals are in addition to what the 5% would be. In other words, this is an increase of cost above just saying 5% for a.
Also want to clarify this is all, what we're doing right now is we are basing this information on the CalTOL on the governor's budget that was brought forward in December. And so the governor's budget called for a 5% increase. The 5% increase covers employees who are in SOQ positions, standard of quality positions. So we still have a considerable amount that we are on the hook for, so to speak, to ensure that all of our employees who are not SOQ employees also receive a 5% pay increase. We have worked on a new pay scale for our bus mechanics to help them become more in line with our neighboring divisions. The governor's proposed budget included a 1% retention bonus for all full-time employees. I will couch that again with that is all full-time SOQ employees, which means if we want all of our employees to have a 1% retention bonus who are returning next year, we have to come up with additional monies from our local funding source in order to cover that. We need to adjust our pay scale for school bookkeepers. We are addressing, the number that you are seeing here is to address our elementary and middle school bookkeepers. We have already worked to fix the high school pay scale as we have been hiring a new bookkeeper this year. We also know that custodians are incredibly important to our day-to-day operations. They currently start at $12.36 an hour. And so we have crafted a new pay scale that starts them at $14 per hour. And of course, a major priority that was identified 2 weeks ago is absorbing the cost of the insurance increase and not passing that along to employees. And so that number is here as well.
Which was good news this year. It's only 4% versus last year it was at 35.
As far as within positions and personnel, as was identified 2 weeks ago, we feel strongly that we need to bring an assistant principal to the Locust Grove Primary and Locust Grove Elementary School sites. In order to help move instruction forward, we would like to ask for a testing and technology resource teacher that will also help serve as an instructional coach at Unionville Elementary School. Currently, Unionville and Lightfoot share a person back and forth, while all of the other buildings have a dedicated TTRT in the building. And so we would like to have 9 dedicated TTRTs, 1 for each of our buildings. 2 weeks ago, we also spoke about the importance of hiring a school nurse manager that would be based at the high school, that would be able to help us maintain our requirements. And Ms. Ayler is here this evening. She wasn't 2 weeks ago, so she could answer questions about the important role of the nurse manager. That also gives us flexibility should a nurse have to be out for a day. This gives us a nurse that we can send to another building to help ensure that there are less times that our buildings are not covered by a school nurse. We would like to move our technology specialists out of ESSER funding and have that position be brought forward into local funding. With the information that you heard tonight from Mr. Hill, there is no way that we will be able to survive long-term without the work of our technology support specialists. And Mr. Hill could provide you some with specificity as far as the buildings that she serves, as well as the responsibilities and roles that are housed in that position. In order to keep up with standards of quality requirement for student to teacher ratio, we need 2 additional teachers at Locust Grove Middle School. They actually need more than 2 teachers. We will be having to move staff from other buildings in order to appropriately staff Locust Grove Middle School. But this is due to continuous population growth in the eastern end. We have also spoken and heard a lot about the need to retain quality teachers. And the number of teachers that have left us since the beginning of the school year, unfortunately, the vast majority of them are our younger teachers in their first and second year. We are hiring more and more teachers that are coming with less and less student teaching and clinical experiences, which means there is a greater onus on us to provide support because they're not coming with the traditional training that we have come to expect over the years, the nature of the changing workforce. So Gary has worked to figure some creative ways to create a teacher mentor position out of federal funding, whose job will be specifically to get into the buildings, be building-based, working with our new folks to help provide support and to assist our folks in curriculum instruction here, as well as our building principals, to help take some of that burden off, always happen with the support that is needed for some of our new teachers. Gary, did I miss anything here? The state revenues are identified on this chart. And again, this is based on the governor's budget that was released on December 16th of 2022. Anything we need to talk about here, Gary?
Just the increase of
That's a good thing. Yeah, we want that. Go ahead, Laura. And state revenue with respect to our SOQ programming. So the one that will likely stick out to you here is the $525,094 in basic aid. And so we'll provide you with a little bit of a synopsis. If you look under the budgeted receipts for 22-23, many in this room, of course, the board is aware of the hold harmless grocery tax issue that has befallen the Commonwealth. And as was stated earlier, there was essentially school divisions were funded about $58 million more because there was an error in the calculating toll, a human error as far as the input. Orange County's percentage of that 58 million is 167,000 and change for FY23. And so when you see the basic aid of 15,950,194, that is technically supposed to be less $167,000. When we were building our proposed budget with projected receipts for 23-24, the 15,425,100, Gary has subtracted out the $414,000 that was set in the calc toll that we would not otherwise be receiving. So the variance here is largely due to the fact of the calc toll error in the basic aid.
That's correct.
This document here, this chart, shows state incentive funds as well as categorical funding. And you see an increase in the incentive portion and a little bit of a decrease in categorical programs. This document here, this chart shows the difference in last year versus projected in state lottery funds. And this document shows the difference in federal aid to Orange County. Obviously, the difference you are going to see is 1.232 million to 10. That is due in large part to the fact that ESSER 2 set aside and Title 6B funding sources expire on June 30th. September 30th. So what Gary has done here is, as we look at other local revenues and projecting what we will need in total county funds, the bottom right-hand corner is essentially our ask of $2,235,800. What I'd like to just remind the board is last year, when Dr. Sneed was giving this presentation, that number likely showed $881,549. Just as a reminder, there was an issue that we had with respect, countywide, with respect to insurance. And so in September, the county provided an additional $1,236,620 to the school division to cover rising insurance costs, as well as to provide long and short-term disability coverage to our VRS legacy employees. So last year,
Just to clarify that a little bit, the previous broker, insurance broker, told the county and the school system that they should project about a 15% increase, and it came in at 35%. So that's the reason for the discrepancy.
And so if you look at 22-23, what we are currently in, when you add the 1.236 million as well as the 881,000, the total investment in local funding in the school division this year was 2,118,169. So the number that we are bringing forward is a total of $117,631 more than last year. We also wanted to provide a different way, a different graphic in order to look at total revenues and the percentage. And so essentially, based on the proposed budget that we're bringing forward, 57.3% would be state funded, 37.6% county funded, 5% federal, and less than 1% for our other sources of income, such as tuition for out-of-county residents, as an example. We also wanted to provide, and Gary, if you can speak to this a little bit, we wanted to provide the adopted budget, revised budget for 23, as well as our proposed budget, and the percentage of our budget that will be dedicated to instruction in Orange County Public Schools. Anything you need to add here? In the Code of Administration, Health, and Attendance Expenses, this provides information as far as the percentage of the budget over the past year, 2 years. And you will notice that the decrease overall in the amount is due to our restructuring and streamlining of central office. Transportation, operations, and maintenance. Our pupil transportation, in order to provide that to our students, makes up 8.2% of our proposed budget, while 9.3% is in operations and maintenance. And a final component, fund transfers as well as technology expenses. These fund transfers include textbooks
and capital funds that go into our operating budget.
All accounting for 4.5%. And so this chart pulls the last 5 or 6 slides together to show the proposed budget based on this current year's budget and the percent that is spent in each particular function. And our final slide this evening is the same information you saw in a pie chart, in case that's a little bit more visually appealing. And so these percentages are the same that you saw in the previous chart. A couple of things of note. When we were building this budget, again, we were anticipating, based on the CalTOL before we were made aware of the error, of having an additional $414,000, a little bit more than that. And when the state come out and said that there was a error with the CalTOL, we wanted to be very judicious about, we didn't want to just continue to add to our ask. And so the hedge in this case was, we are not seeking to move our student support coaches out of ESSER funding into local funding. The total cost to do that move would have been $410,000 and change. And so the good news is that no positions are affected for this year. The troubling news is moving forward, what that means is the ESSER cliff that we were hoping to take a little bit of a bite out of this year becomes all that more difficult when we get to next year's budget process. And so that $414,000 $14,000 definitely made an impact as far as what we were able to accomplish. Additionally, somewhat hot off the presses, last evening, and we received information, we'll use the term money committees, the respective committees in the House and the Senate at the General Assembly, provided some information about their proposed budgets for education. And both of their budgets included a 7% increase for SOQ teachers. And so what this means is there will be, if that goes through, there will be additional funding for those positions for a 7% raise. Which means that if we want to gain on our local school divisions, where a step plus 7% was looking really good when other folks were giving 5%, a step plus 7% does not equal out as far as we would like to move forward when other school divisions will be doing 7%. It will also require us to come up with even more funding to ensure that our teachers who are not SOQ positions also receive a step plus 7%. And so the target is still moving as it usually is. This is the short session of the biennium. And so the General Assembly is trying to get the work done that's historically done in a full session, in a shortened session. And so we're seeing new information come out pretty quickly. We also wanted to speak to the board because we had pre-arranged some budget workshops and meetings, should they be necessary. I will just bring to the board at this point with this newest information coming as of last night, and we still don't have much in the way of reconciliation with respect to where the budgets will fall. We likely will not have any more updated information that is any better, so to speak, or more up to date on next Monday than what we're bringing to you this evening. And so that just for your consideration as far as when and how often to hold the meetings. I don't know that.
They did indicate, I was on the Zoom this afternoon, excuse me, and they did indicate it'd be the week of the 13th that they'd be working on new calc tools for the House and Senate. So until those are completed, there won't be any more new information as far as the dollar amounts coming from the states.
And with that, of course, Mr. Honick and I are available for questions now, follow up at any time. Please let us know and I'll yield it back to the board.
I do have a question. Early in the presentation, there's a 2% step increase for all teachers. Is that gonna solidify for all steps moving forward? So if you run out, we already have that plan to have that 2% increase.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure about you, I'm not sure of the question. You saying, would that change the scale, the scale to be that?
Yeah.
The scale would change to reflect that, yes.
Thank you. That was my question.
Right.
I'd just like to make a general statement. The board has been discussing this with the superintendent and administration, both in public sessions recently, but we also discuss it in the closed session because a lot of it involves personnel. You notice the board's not voting on this tonight. That's been the tradition that we usually do because these numbers are not solid. They're just estimates of what we're going to get until the budget is really decided on, and that probably won't be another month. We really won't have solid numbers, so it's no use. I can say, I think I can speak for this board and say, we're very supportive of what's going on here. And the other thing I'd like to say is the Democrats and the Republicans in Richmond seem to be in agreement on funding education. So I look forward to having some good results from there, but we just have to wait and see. The governor's come out and said that mistake in the calc tool, he wanted the General Assembly to take care of that for this year. And I personally
think that they will do that. Until it all gets finalized, there's nothing we can actually do, but I'll repeat myself. I think this board is very supportive of what the superintendent is trying to do.
And to your point, quickly, Mr. Hopkins, with respect to the capital issue, both the House and the Senate, in their respective reports and their proposed budgets, do want to make sure that schools are held harmless for the current fiscal year, so that there would not be money that would have to be given back, so to speak, or money that you thought you had to spend. So both of them are addressing ways to cover the $58 million or so statewide. However, neither of them address next year, which does make sense because that's not money that has been allocated at this point. It's something that we can work around and adjust, and that's what we wanted to articulate to you. Our adjustment was when we were looking at a total of $410,000 to $414,000. We felt it best to address ESSER positions. That way we have the positions for another year. Also acknowledging up front the trade-off, which is it leaves the cliff harder to climb next budget season. But there definitely had an impact on what we were looking for. And we appreciate your support as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hocker. Madam Chair, that is all this evening for reports and recommendations. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Moving on to board member items. Blue Ridge Virtual Government School Board report.
The Blue Ridge Virtual Governor's School Joint School Board met on February 1st at 1 o'clock at Zion's Crossroads. I listed the players that were at the table. We have 7 board members. This represents 7 counties. For those who are not familiar with the Blue Ridge Governor's School, it's a cooperation. This is one of 19 governor's schools within the state of Virginia. What I'm trying to say is, when you look along those list of the counties that we go in with, and to me, living in Lake of the Woods, I'm saying, if we're doing it with our surrounding counties, where's Culpeper and Spotsylvania in here, and they're not there. I think the uniqueness of this 7 counties is that each of them has exactly 1 high school. So therefore, we all share in this exactly equal. And this is a program for talented and gifted students in high school. It's very competitive, and it's a long-term commitment. You actually apply for this when you're in the 8th grade. And if you get accepted, then you're in the Blue Ridge Governor's School. And if you have to make a commitment, you're making a commitment for your whole time through your senior year. And we have about 44 8th graders who are committed to this program now. The 7 counties together have about 630 students involved in this program. I would estimate that about 8% of our high school are enrolled in this Blue Ridge Governor's School. I could go on and give you some more information about it, but it's getting late, and so I don't want to do that. If you have any questions, reach out to me about this school, because it is really a gem for our school system. And that includes my report, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. Closed session certification.
Pursuant to 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia, the Orange County School Board will convene a closed meeting for the following: discussion of personnel or the performance of a division employee as authorized by section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia for resignation, termination, transfer, employment, salary adjustment, and retirement of employees.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are in closed session.
County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, whereas 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires certification of the school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Orange County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, Ms. Bynum?
Mrs. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Hopkins?
Aye.
Mr. Jones? Mrs. Flinter?
Aye.
Madam Chair, the clerk certifies the vote as follows: 4 yes votes, no votes, with 1 member absent. The resolution is approved by a 4-0 vote.
Closed session certification. Oh, sorry. Dr. Hornick, does this come with your approval?
Yes, ma'am, we've asked to approve the personnel actions as presented in closed session.
I move to accept the recommended approval of the personnel agenda and addendum to include retirement, resignation, salary adjustment, employment and termination, and coaching appointments.
Second.
Roll call. Ms. Bynum?
Ms. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Hopkins?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. Flinter?
Aye.
Madam Chair, the vote is certified by a 4-0 vote.
Disposition of personnel actions? We just did that
Yeah,
one?
we're good.
So
Yes,
sorry.
ma'am.
That's it, okay. Board member comments or questions? No? If that's none, then I'm gonna call my first chair meeting to an end. Thank you.
Okay.